Hello, we're here in front of the state capitol in Raleigh, and I'm with Beth Crow, Youth Missioner for the Diocese of North Carolina, and Michelle Lanier, who is the Curator for Cultural History for the state of North Carolina. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
In this extended conversation, we wanted to have Beth tell us a little bit about the Pilgrimage 2010, and tell us a little bit about when it is, the date, and what it is. And then I'd like Michelle to tell us a little bit about our history. Beth?
Bishop Curry, last year, about this time, Canon Hunt and I were talking after I got back from a provincial meeting of another diocese that had taken a get on the bus trip, but they went down to Birmingham, and Michael pointed out to me, we have history right here in our state. So the three dioceses of North Carolina, the Youth Ministries program, have been working together over the past year to develop this pilgrimage we're going to have next summer, Freedom Ride 2010. It's going to be in July the 9th through the 18th. The cost is $350, but we do have scholarships available, so no young person should not apply because of money. We will begin our journey in Wilmington, looking at some of the historical history that has happened there in Wilmington, from the 1898 riots to the Wilmington 10. We will journey across the state, migrant farm workers. Coming up to Raleigh, we'll spend time in Oxford, and Tim Tyson's going to be with us, and we'll see a production of Blood Done Sign My Name. We'll be in Durham and Chapel Hill, learning about the life of Polly Murray, and we'll end our journey in Greensboro, where the 1960s sit-ins at the Woolworths occurred, and then the 1979 shooting of 5 civil rights marchers.
And in fact, next Monday, after we tape this, will be the 50th anniversary of the sit-ins in Greensboro. Michelle Lanier is also with us, and Michelle, as I said, is Curator of Cultural History for the state of North Carolina, and she is with us to share a few of the stories, and she is one of the remarkable people, the young people who have an opportunity to meet and hear from.
Well, first let me say it's really exciting for me to even be included in this journey with you all. Freedom Ride 2010, immediately when I heard about it, I said, how can I help? How can I get involved? This is a part of my work and my calling, so thank you all for including us. So I do work with the Division of State Historic Sites and Properties, which is a part of the Department of Cultural Resources, and we have 27 state historic sites throughout the state of North Carolina. We are actually standing in front of one of them, the state capitol, which has strong African American historic stories to tell of people who are both surviving oppression, overcoming oppression, and seeking freedom, seeking human rights, seeking equality. People like Abraham Galloway, who served here as a legislator during the Reconstruction period, who helped to raise U.S. colored troops during the Civil War. And also people who are connected to the state capitol who weren't necessarily here were people like Charlotte Hawkins Brown. She started a boarding school for African American children in a little town called Sedalia. She was 19 years old and didn't have anything much more than a blacksmith shop and the support of a local church. And by the time she finished her tenure, she had raised over $1 million and had befriended the likes of Eleanor Roosevelt and Booker T. Washington. And one of the things that she would do with her famous Palmerite students was to bring them here to Raleigh to visit the state capitol. And everyone could always tell a Palmer student because they always behaved themselves with the highest decorum. But she refused to be segregated on Jim Crow cars. She refused to be segregated anywhere that she went, and she helped develop economic empowerment initiatives in the little town of Sedalia, and her reach just kept spreading. We have many other sites that help to tell stories of runaway slaves at historic Halifax, of the enslaved communities of Stagville and Somerset, and all that they achieved and endured and held together through perseverance. We have the stories of African American railroad workers at the Transportation Museum, and African American gold miners at Reed Gold Mine. And one of the beauties of my job, one of the blessings of my job, is that we get to learn about this history in a way that touches us, in a way that's relevant, in a way that transforms our perspective on our own lives and on the history of the state of North Carolina. So I hope that can be the experience of the youth who take part in Freedom Ride 2010.
Michelle, you had something you were going to read.
I do. George Moses Horton was enslaved. He was born in Halifax County, and then the folks who owned him moved him to Chatham County. And he wanted to buy his freedom. And one of the ways he intended to buy his freedom was to sell poetry on the campus of UNC Chapel Hill. Well, he was never able to raise enough money to buy his freedom, but when the Union troops came and occupied Raleigh, he stole himself away and went with a Michigan regiment. And one of the things that those officers and soldiers did was to help him publish his poetry. And he wrote a poem called Song of Liberty. And I'll just read a few portions. He says, "The glorious plan of liberation opens now a scene of joy, rolls spontaneous through the nation, which no treason can destroy. Lift all voices, all the world, the theme employ." And he goes on to write, "Lift on high 10,000 voices, blow the trump of Jubilee." This is just one of the loud and powerful voices that helps us understand not only the African American story of freedom seeking, but the human story of freedom seeking in North Carolina and the world.
Michelle, thank you. And as you can tell, there's truck and traffic passing by, but that's a sign that there's a train about ready to pull out of the station. Freedom Ride 2010. What date is it, Beth?
July the 9th through the 18th, and we're going to load up a bus of 55 young people. Looking forward to it.
And money is not an object. No young person will be turned away because of finances. We have ample scholarship assistance available. The contact information for this is provided with this edition of Please Note. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and God bless you.